Moses, a Hebrew raised as an Egyptian prince, received a divine call. God spoke to him. He told Moses to return to Egypt. His mission was clear: free the Israelites from slavery. Moses stood before Pharaoh. He delivered God's message. "Let my people go," he declared. Pharaoh scoffed. He refused to release the Israelites. Their labor was too valuable. He defied God's command. Pharaoh's heart hardened. He refused to listen. His stubbornness would bring suffering. God would send 10 plagues. These plagues would demonstrate his power. Each plague would be more devastating than the last. The first plague arrived. The lifeblood of Egypt turned against it. The Nile River transformed. Its waters turned blood red. The Egyptians were horrified. The river stank. Fish died, creating a foul stench. Egyptians relied on the Nile. Now it brought them only misery. They could not drink its water. They could not use it for anything. The plague lasted for 7 long days. Pharaoh remained unmoved. He refused to free the Israelites. The second plague arrived. It brought a new wave of misery. Frogs swarmed from the Nile. They invaded every corner of Egypt. They hopped into homes and beds. They filled the streets. They covered everything. The Egyptians were disgusted. The incessant croaking drove them mad. The stench of the frogs filled the air. It was unbearable. Pharaoh pleaded with Moses. He begged him to stop the plague. He promised to release the Israelites. But once the frogs were gone, he broke his promise. The third and fourth plagues arrived. They brought new torments. Tiny lice infested everything. They burrowed into the skin. They caused intense itching and misery. Swarms of flies descended upon Egypt. They buzzed annoyingly. They landed on everything. The Egyptians were driven to distraction. They couldn't escape the relentless torment. Pharaoh, however, remained stubborn. He refused to release the Israelites. He hardened his heart against God's power. Section 5. Pestilence strikes the Egyptian livestock. The fifth plague targeted Egypt's livelihood. A deadly pestilence swept through the land. It struck down their livestock. Cows, sheep, and horses died in droves. The Egyptians were devastated. Their source of food and wealth was decimated. The stench of death filled the air. Still, Pharaoh refused to yield. He refused to acknowledge God's power. He continued to oppress the Israelites. Section 6. Boils cover the Egyptians. The sixth plague brought personal suffering. Painful boils erupted on the Egyptians. They covered their bodies. They caused excruciating pain. Even the magicians and healers were afflicted. The Egyptians cried out in agony. Their bodies were covered in sores. Their suffering was unbearable. Yet Pharaoh remained defiant. He refused to release the Israelites. His heart had become hardened against their plight. Section 7. Hail and fire rained down on Egypt. The seventh plague unleashed nature's fury. A devastating hailstorm struck Egypt. Thunder roared. Lightning flashed. Hailstones rained down from the sky, but these were no ordinary hailstones. They were mixed with fire. The hail and fire destroyed everything in their path. Crops were flattened. Trees were splintered. Buildings were reduced to rubble. The Egyptians were terrified. They had never witnessed such destructive power, yet Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. He refused to let the Israelites go. Section 8. Locusts devour everything in sight. The eighth plague brought famine to the land. Hordes of locusts descended upon Egypt. They swarmed across the sky, blocking out the sun. They devoured everything in their path. Whatever the hail and fire had spared, the locusts consumed. Fields were stripped bare. Trees were left as skeletons. Egypt's food supply was utterly destroyed. The Egyptians faced starvation. Still, Pharaoh clung to his pride. He refused to free the Israelites. Section 9. Darkness consumes the land. The ninth plague brought a terrifying darkness. A thick, palpable darkness enveloped Egypt. It lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The Egyptians could feel the darkness pressing in on them. They could not see their hand in front of their faces. They stumbled around blindly. Fear and terror gripped their hearts. The darkness was a physical manifestation of their spiritual blindness. Yet, even in the face of this terrifying plague, Pharaoh remained defiant. He clung to his power and refused to release the Israelites.